penalty has been on the decline for a number of years, and I think that all the mobilization and the outrage that's been expressed by people over these past few days and weeks only shows that we're heading in that direction. I think the questions about the death penalty, the editorials, the speaking out just continues on and on. And so I think it's doing exactly this. That's going to keep that going, and we have to keep doing what we're doing.
Well, I think it's going to take, at this point, I think it's going to take a true revolution. People need to wake the fuck up and actually demand their rights and actually demand Congress, to abolish the death penalty. If we truly, if we truly call ourselves human rights, if we truly tell the world that we're the greatest democracy in the world, then we need to follow those steps and actually abolish the death penalty.
I think it's going to take bigger stuff than we've done before. The amazing stuff that's happened, I think, with Troy's case is that the amount of people that it's ignited worldwide and in the U.S. to pay attention to the death penalty. I think the question is now, how do we make those numbers bigger and bigger and bigger? If there had been more and more people involved, there could have been civil disobedience actions involving hundreds of people across the country. I'm sure there was some, and more. I think it's going to take bigger, more militant action. There's going to be more marches, protests, sit-ins.
To abolish the death penalty, we need to abolish the capitalist system first. Nothing is going to change until we change the system that we live in. And by changing it, I mean all us workers coming together and making revolution in the United States. Until that happens, they're going to be lynching us, not just legally, but also illegally.
In my opinion, what it's going to take is really a movement towards actually revolutionary transformation of our relationships to the state itself. The state power has increased alongside the war of terrorism. I mean, one of the main reasons why Troy Davis was effectively put to death is through one of the legislations that was passed after the Oklahoma City bombing, which was called the Effective Death Penalty Act.
The death penalty is always going to be a touchy subject with the masses, whether you're for it or against it. Realistically speaking, we shouldn't be taking anybody's life. Aggression should never meet aggression, and that's the most basic of etiquette, humankind. We shouldn't be attacking our own brothers and sisters, our own prison complexes. It's modern day slavery, it's big business. You know what I mean? To sign over a man's life to death, who has that right? In order to get rid of it, to be realistic, the masses have to stand up. The people have to stand up for themselves. We're giving them the power to do these things to us.
I think it's going to have to get ugly. Because in order for the mainstream media to cover it, which is what's really going to be able to infiltrate the psyches of those people who are at home sleeping, is the mainstream media. I hate to admit that. It's going to have to get ugly. I'm not advocating for violence, but that seems to be the only thing that this bloodthirsty media wants to cover. And that seems to be the only time that things are reviewed or acknowledged by the general population. For instance, I'm from the Bay Area, and there was a man that was shot and killed by a BART police officer named Oscar Grant. And it didn't get hardly any media coverage until the citizens of Oakland took to the streets and there was a rebellion. And then the media, looked at it and said, oh, let's exploit this and, let's make these people look like animals. But the average person with a functioning neuron could look at that and tell that these kids aren't crazy. These kids are standing up and fighting for one of the most majestic things in human life, and that's the freedom to be free, to be righteous.
It's going to take us. What I found peculiar was that corporate media actually started covering Troy Davis. Actually, Republicans and conservatives who are planning on coming here, which is bugging me out. And I'm just wondering, well, how did the masses come together? I remember I saw pictures on Facebook of community gatherings, students in DC, students everywhere across the nation, just gathering together trying to find out updates on what's going on with Troy Davis yesterday. So I'm like, well, if corporate media came in on this, then is that what brought us together? Was it corporate media or was it us? We have to figure out what brought us together, what brought all these people together. And once we figure that out, then we can use that to stop the death penalty and like live out all of our dreams. Bring a revolution in this country is what we need. And that's what everyone's asking for. Everyone is asking for a revolution. You could be left wing, right wing, everyone is asking for one, and we need to take advantage of that. And that's what it's going to take.
The state of Georgia thinks it has a victory. And in some ways it does, because we were not able to stop them from executing, killing Troy Anthony Davis. But what the state does not get is that we have mobilized more than we ever had in New York City, throughout the country, throughout the world, committed, disciplined, ready and able to do what they need to do, organize, mobilize, to end the death penalty, state by state, the whole world over, starting with Georgia.